Hello, beautiful souls. So today I'm really inspired to kind of pick up the camera and do something a little bit different. I have really been kind of guided to read the parts in the Principles of Miracles at the beginning. And as I went through, I realized that near the end of them, Jesus does put a lot of emphasis on understanding how the inner mind works. He talks a lot about the superconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the subconscious mind. And then just this morning, as I began to open up just randomly to the text, I came to chapter 4, Love Without Conflict. And within this part as well, it talks a lot about the same parts of mind, the superconscious, the conscious, and the subconscious mind. And so I felt, why not make it more clear and understandable through a diagram, not only for myself, but then to also share, right? Because once we are able to see it as a picture, it seems to be more clear and more understanding, for the mind works with images, right? So how I kind of wanted to break it down was for us to kind of have an understanding of how our inner mind works. And there are different components of it that kind of help us to understand how this world is even here, what our part is in creating this world, and where it is that we can receive the impulses from either our ego or the physical impulses, or the impulses from miracles or our soul. And so I wanted to bring some clarity to that. And what I did is I drew up a little bit of a diagram here on our beautiful whiteboard. And so I just figured we'll go through and then we'll see what clarity comes from this experience here. But on the theme of love without conflict, I feel that this is what we all want to experience. Yet within the world, love and conflict seem to be synonymous. That for the most part, conflict seems to be an integral part of relationships, an integral part of marriages, an integral part of children parenting experiences. And so what we want to do is we want to move out of the realm of thinking that love and conflict come together, realizing that love is whole unto itself. That conflict is not a part of love, but that conflict is literally just a misperception in the mind, a misunderstanding of what master we're listening to, and taking our guidance from both the ego and the soul, which leaves us in that realm of conflict because we're listening to two minds. And so here I feel that I want to start with the conscious mind. As most of us know, the conscious mind is the thoughts that are thinking in our mind. Even if we give ourselves 2 seconds to be still, we start to notice that our mind runs rampant. And it starts thinking about everything of the past and everything of the future, jumping right over this now moment and being really, 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 really busy. The thing with the conscious mind is it takes the impulses from both the ego and it takes the impulses from the soul. But that is up to us what we choose to listen to. When we are born into this world, we are taught by the world what we are. Our parents say, you are Brittany, this is your body, this is the world, I am your mom, I am your dad, this is an apple, this is a chair. And we start being taught by our external world how it is that we can look upon this world and what everything means. So we are given our meaning of the world from the world, and then once we take it into our mind, it becomes part of our subconscious mind. Much like when we're learning how to walk, at first we don't know. We wobble all over the place, we fall all over the place until it becomes natural and it becomes absolutely automatic, because the way of walking now has been here into the subconscious mind. And it becomes a subconscious prompter that allows us to walk, that allows us to drive, that allows us to ride a bike, that allows us to do all these things where we no longer have to have a conscious thought on it. It happens naturally and automatically of itself. And so it is here, this conscious mind, that engages with the world, and that is what I wrote here, right? And that it receives messages from both the subconscious mind, that we have inundated with messages and learnings from the people outside of us, but it also receives messages, like I had mentioned, from the soul, from the superconscious. But because we have first been taught that what we are is this body from our parents and everyone around us, this body is now completely joined with the thought of the ego, because the ego believes that its reality is this body. That ego will jump on the idea of this birth and death cycle and truly identify with the body as being what it is. So since we are here in the conscious realm, engaging with the conscious world, thinking that we are this body, what happens is our first master that we listen to, the voice that we listen to that we think is our own, is the ego. And the ego will take the thoughts from the superconscious that are given us, and instead of accepting them for its reality, it rejects it and it shoves it down here in the unconscious. So it literally takes the superconscious prompts from God or from the soul, and it sifts it down here and sticks it into the unconscious, so that it's not at the foreground of our mind anymore, but it is hidden, and it becomes a part of the collective unconscious. We are this body, we are in this world that is spinning through space, all of the laws of the world, gravity, etc., and we start to believe that this is our reality. We've completely lost touch with the voice of our soul because we are caught listening to the voice of our ego based on what we think we are according to the world. And so now, once we continue to grow up in the world, what happens is we continue to take people's judgments and opinions, everything we learn from school and religions and books and friends and family, and they become the basis of what we think we are. Now we develop our character traits, our personalities, our judgments, opinions, and beliefs, and all of this gets shoved down into the unconscious and the subconscious mind. And so what happens is we begin to fill this subconscious mind with everything, with all of our beliefs and ideas and opinions. And so since we're filling the subconscious, the superficial subconscious levels of mind, what we are doing is we're putting that block to the miracle impulses that are underneath. Because the subconscious mind is literally just a holder. What did I write over here? It is the storage container. It is the storage container for both, again, the ego and God. And so we have the miracle impulses that are forever residing within our subconscious mind. But because we're too busy engaging in the world and thinking that the world is our reality, we fill the superficial levels of the subconscious mind with all of the junk that we believed in, which literally is the block to the awareness of the miracles that are already within. Okay? And so this is why we are being taught through A Course in Miracles that our function is forgiveness. And forgiveness is literally the reinterpretation of what we previously believed to be true. So we believed all of these things that the world and our friends and our family taught us and everything that we had experienced in our life, and it becomes on the superficial levels of the subconscious and unconscious mind that literally is our determiner of how we see the world. And how we see the world is based on that which is perishable, because we think that we are this body. It is based on that which is fleeting and changing. And this is why we get caught in the realm of conflict and love being synonymous. Because what we are doing is when we are engaging in our world, we believe in what we're thinking, and therefore from our beliefs, it becomes our perception as we look upon the world. And when we look upon the world through our perception, we look out of the world through hate. We look upon the world through attack, because that's what we have experienced in this world of form at this time. And in perceiving that in the world, we project it onto the world, and what do we have? We have that as our experience. For what we give in the world, we receive. So based on everything that we have shoved down in our unconscious and subconscious mind, it literally becomes a part of our daily life. So this is why we are responsible for how we see the world, because we can change it. And through the process of forgiveness, it literally cleanses out this center. It cleanses out this center. We can think of this as like a channel in our mind. So when it cleanses out the center and allows us to realize that maybe there's something other than how I'm currently seeing it, maybe there's another way of looking at this than I did before, then we become open to letting these miracle impulses that are down here at the bottom to bubble up and rise up to the conscious awareness, and let that be the experience that unites our minds directly with each other. And as soon as we begin to have these miracle experiences that unite our minds directly with each other, then we remember our unity. We remember that we are the same. And in remembering that we are the same, we also remember that when we give to the same self in each other, that we are receiving exactly what we give. So now we become more open instead of responding from these unconscious and subconscious prompters that we've simply just accepted over our lives, because that's all the subconscious mind does, is it accepts. We realize that we are the chooser of what goes into our subconscious and unconscious mind. And we begin to let all of this darkness rise so that we can look at it So we can look at it and realize that it is not what we want. And this is why we have the teacher of the Holy Spirit in our minds. The teacher of the Holy Spirit, or our own soul, truly lets us look at everything we stuffed down, see it in the presence of the light, and then let it be undone. And it is undone because it is replaced by the miracle impulses, which are reminders of the truth that we are, the truth that we share, the one self that God created. And so once we begin to let every dark thought rise from our mind and look at it with the light, and be not afraid to look at it, because all that it is thought. All that it is thought. All that it is thought. We need not be afraid of thought. When we let ourselves look at thought, what happens is now, since it is not the ego that can question or reason or understand anything at all, we literally move into the space of the Holy Spirit that can look at these darkened thoughts with the light and let them be reinterpreted for us to show us what is actually going on. And as we continue to do this, it's as if we are plucking the junk out of our unconscious and subconscious mind and creating an open space. And this open space now lets the miracle impulses rise to the conscious awareness, and it lets those be what is expressed, what is given, what is seen, what is experienced. And then we get to realize that truly our mind is silent. Our mind is silent. We only think because we choose to. We only think because that's the only thing that we think that we have to do. We're used to the conscious mind being so busy and thinking, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, because the conscious mind is used to engaging with the world. And yet what we are learning is when we step out of being that doer and we step into beingness, then what happens is we're no longer by ourselves in this conscious mind doing it alone, but in the being, we open up and we let the prompts from the superconscious mind come in. And instead of stuffing them down into the unconscious, we let these prompts that come from the superconscious mind, which is from God, which is from the soul, which is from the Holy Spirit, be that energy that prompt us into doing into this world. So no longer are we doing in this world based on the past, but we're doing in this world based on the now, which is forever and now. And now the superconscious mind is in direct connection with the miracle impulses that are here in the subconscious mind, and you're an avid miracle worker, where your mind is still, where your heart is open and feels the presence of the whole love as God created it to be. In this place, we have certainty and conviction of what we are and of what God is, and that we will be told exactly what we need to know. We will have the experiences that we need to have with our brothers and sisters, that we will be led to those experiences, and that we will be given everything that we need because we've been given everything already. But the reason why we think we haven't been given everything already is because we're too busy listening to the unconscious and subconscious mind that we have simply inundated with information and intellect from the external world. Our reality is not this world. This is perishable. It is here in the time-space continuum that resides in the past and in the future, where really there is no time. So in being restored back to the now moment, this is where God and truth is. So now, instead of being on the time frame of the past and the future and jumping over the present, we've switched our axis to the vertical axis, which now allows us to be in alignment and hold hands with our brothers and sisters, because here are the miracles that we share with our brothers and sisters in Jesus. Here is now the extension of those miracles with our brothers and sisters in the world. And here is the communication with our Father and the Holy Spirit. So now this is where our true reality is. And this is the kingdom of heaven. In the chapter 4, Love Without Conflict, we are being reminded, as he says here, you have never understood what the kingdom of heaven is within you means. You have never understood what the kingdom of heaven within you means. The reason you have not understood it is because it is not understandable to the ego, which interprets it as if something outside is inside, and this does not mean anything. Remember, our ego is here in the conscious realm, and it thinks that everything in this world is outside of itself. And so when we are told that the kingdom of heaven is within you, The ego thinks that it is something that is outside that is going to be brought inside, but that is not true at all. Jesus says that the word within is unnecessary because the kingdom of heaven is you. The kingdom of heaven is you. What else but you did the Creator create? And what else but you is His kingdom? This is the whole message of the atonement, and this is exactly what is shown here. When we let ourselves step outside of listening to the ego, we can then listen to our soul, the Holy Spirit. And we are reminded that God is our source. And in God, we live forever, for all eternity, in the perfect kingdom of heaven, where perfect love is. And we have a direct channel of communication with our own soul to remind us that this is the truth. But we must want it. As I turn the page, it is also told to us that love will enter immediately into any mind which truly wants it, but it must truly want it. Up until recognizing that what we truly want is love and only love that is whole without conflict, we are thinking that we want everything else that our subconscious and unconscious mind tells us that we want. I want more clothes. I want a better house. I want a better car. I want a better mate. I want this to stop and this to get better and have more money, and I want all these things. We think we are caught in the realm of the world with all of these wants. And that's why our love will seemingly be with conflict. But true love, the love of God and the kingdom of heaven, is whole without conflict. And so now, in recognizing that the kingdom of heaven is me, is when we can let every subconscious and unconscious hidden belief rise to the conscious awareness, to be undone through the voice of the Holy Spirit, so that this becomes a blank channel that is still and quietly does nothing. And the miracles then transcend and rise from the subconscious mind to be recognized and to be experienced through our direct communication from God. The subconscious mind unites our minds directly with God. The subconscious mind unites our minds directly with each other. And yet we must place it in the service of the soul and not the service of the ego. So, how is it that we have love without conflict? By recognizing that there's two voices in our mind that we listen to. The ego is the voice of fear. Our soul is the voice of love. And we must choose what voice we are going to listen to, what master is going to be our leader. We get to recognize in accepting the voice of love that fear is merely the absence of love. And accepting the voice for love, it truly lets the mind be transcended, and all fear and conflict fades away in the presence of this light and love. And so this is what we are experiencing, and this is what we are demonstrating, and this is how our inner mind works. So, I say we continue to watch our mind for little scraps of meanness, for little scraps of judgment, for little scraps of anger. And anytime we become witness to these scraps of meanness and anger, it is literally for us to hand it over and let it be undone. Realizing that we have the voice of the soul in us that is here to communicate with us when we listen. And so let yourself listen to this inner voice, and we will hear that we are loved, that we are honored, that we are whole, and that we are perfect, and that we haven't ever done anything wrong. In this awareness, so do we transcend out of the world, so that we can finally be in this world, but not of it. In this world, but not of it. And this is how we truly do get to be in heaven here in this world, because heaven is what we are. The kingdom of heaven is you. And this is where love without conflict is found, inside our own minds and hearts. So, I hope this was helpful in some way. I know that every time I share and express in this way, it is for me. And so I love you all, beautiful souls. And if there's any more questions or comments in regards to this whole idea, bring it on. We'll talk it out. I love you all, beautiful souls. Bye.